Hello everyone, welcome to Nib Picking. My name is Steven and I'm here to give you an artist review of fountain pens. Today we're going to be talking about the Noodlers Nib Creeper. This is the very first, I believe, the very first fountain pen that was created by the Noodlers ink company. They make a bunch of great inks. I own several of their different varieties of inks and I love them. I think they're great. So I thought I'd pick up this pen and see what it's all about. One of the interesting features of this pen is that it has a flexible nib. So this nib has a long slit down the side. I'll show you up close in a little bit. This nib has a long line down the center, which I'll show you up close in a little bit. And if you put a little more pressure on the paper, the tines of the nib spread out and you get a wider line. So line width and the ability to flex your nib might be something that would be useful for art. So I personally will be giving you my opinion on whether or not this is an art supply. Could this be used to create art? I'm going to show you the parts and the features. I will ink it up and do a drawing sample, and then I will weigh in at the end. Okay, here's the pen, the Noodlers Ink Creeper, up close and personal. You can see the clip says Noodlers Ink on the outside. Interesting feature of this pen, you can actually twist off the very top part. So if you would prefer a pen without a clip like this, you can actually take the clip off, twist it back into place. Personally, I think that's kind of cool, and I would consider carrying it around like this. The pen itself, on the cap, there are quite a lot of threads, so you can see you twist, they come right off, but it's a good amount of threads, so that's one of the things that if by any chance this pen leaks ink into the cap, which as you can see as I've been using this pen, it actually has already done that, you can rest assured that it's not going to end up on your clothes because it's a screw cap. So I pulled this off here, and let's have a look at the nib. And you can see it says Noodlers Ink Co. or Company, and there is a pretty decent slit down the center. That's what gives this nib its flexibility. And if you can also see as I'm pushing on it with my fingers how the tines are spreading apart. That is going to give us flexible ink and the ability to have different thicknesses of line in our drawing, which we're going to do in a little bit. This is an ebonite feed. I'm going to pull it out here. I noticed that some of my fountain pens from India, and this fountain pen is manufactured in India, actually do have these ebonite feeds, and it's cut by hand, so you can kind of see the shape is not regular, it's not symmetrical, because this was done by hand. An interesting feature, definitely this is the kind of pen that you want to fiddle with and play around with. And there's the nib up close. You can see the slit goes almost all the way down to the bottom, about a third of the way from the bottom of the nib, which most nibs are not like that. This is a particular feature so that it can be flexible. And this is the body of the pen. I do not think that this piston is supposed to be pulled out, because when I tried to do that there was a bit of a resistance, so I'm just gonna not ruin my pen and leave it like that. But you twist this, you can see it go down, twist the opposite direction, the piston goes up. All of the parts, with the exception of this little rubber gasket here, are translucent, making this a demonstrator pen, which is kind of cool because you can see how the pen works. And so these are the parts of the Noodlers Nib Creeper. Now I'm going to fill it up with ink and we're going to get on to that drawing sample. All right, and I do have some Noodlers ink to show you today. This is Noodlers Nightshade. It's kind of a wine, like a burgundy, reddish, brownish color. Really cool. I like seeing it on the page. I think it looks really nice. So we're going to fill up this Noodlers pen with some Noodlers ink. Twisting the piston down. When it goes down all the way, it's ready to go into the ink, and we'll just pull up some ink and we'll see what we get. Okay, first fill, not bad at all. Typically these piston filler pens leave a lot of an air gap between the end of the gasket and where the ink goes in, but you can see this actually filled up quite nicely. So we're going to just take a little piece of rag here and we're going to wipe it clean so that there's no surprise drips, and it is now time to do a drawing sample, so stay tuned. Okay, so here's the point where we're drawing. Today I'm drawing the Statue of Liberty. Just kind of felt in a patriotic mood. I think I filmed this on the 4th of July or somewhere around that time. And the Statue of Liberty is also part of a project that I'm doing just for my regular art stuff, so I wanted to get some practice in. Also, you know, an American ink company makes a pen, even though the pen's manufactured in India. It kind of fit, I felt, as well as an American-made ink inside the pen. This is a particular project that it requires a lot of finesse. Some fine lines are involved, a lot of detail in the statue. You know, not to detract from my own kind of weaknesses in those things, but I felt like the pen didn't really do me any favors while I was drawing with it, because it just feels like the lines weren't coming out consistently with it. Maybe it's my hand pressure, but I felt like it put a lot of ink down, and when I needed a thin line, I couldn't really count on it to give me a very thin line. Reverse writing, or turning the nib upside down and writing with it, gives you a thinner line, but it's super scratchy. So with my paper, I felt like it was tearing up chunks of the paper, and that didn't work too well. So I'm not great at this subject, as my sketchbook can attest to, but I just don't feel like the pen was really helping me much in that. But anyway, there are some good points to it. Like at the bottom here, you're gonna see me putting in the shadow portions on the bottom part of that pedestal. You can really throw down a lot of ink really quick, and that's nice. I feel like this pen would match some people's art style. For myself, it feels like I wanna be more careful than this pen will allow me to be. And I don't know, probably it will be better with better paper too. I do use cheap paper in order to give a kind of a torture test to the pen. So the paper didn't help me, the pen didn't help me. All in all, it wasn't a total loss using this pen as an art tool, as something to help me draw with, but I feel like I could have done a better drawing with a different pen. And I don't know, I feel like that kind of answers my question right there, if this will be something in my rotation when I'm doing art. It is a really lovely design pen. I like how small it is and how nice it feels in the hand, but it was difficult to use. Let's say that. It was a bit of a challenge. Okay, so now that we've drawn with it and I've shown you the results, I'm gonna give my opinion on what I think about this pen. First of all, I find it to be a little bit better for drawing than a larger pen like this, for example, the Noodlers Conrad, which I also have and I will be doing a review of in a little bit. While I do like this pen, I don't feel that it is an art supply. It's not something that I will use often for art. And one of the main reasons is that the ebonite feed, which is something that's pretty common in Indian pens as I understand, and these Noodlers Nib Creepers are manufactured in India, according to my research. This ebonite feed puts out a lot of ink and can sometimes leak out of the pen if it's transported around a lot of places. You can also see that it leaked into my cap several times over the times that I've had it. I would personally rather see something that I can carry with me to be an art supply. I don't mind getting ink on my fingers, but I don't want it leaking into my pocket. Now, to be fair, I have not gotten ink on my clothes or anything while using this pen. The threads keep it pretty secure, but I don't want any surprises when opening up the cap. And personally, I just feel that I want a lower flow of ink to be able to control the lines when I'm creating art. So this may work for some. For me, it doesn't really work. Anyway, that's all the nib picking we're going to do today. I hope you join me next time. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this.